Well, students, so this is the exam preparation class of second year, paper 10, right? Creating an inclusive school, right, guys? And along with this, we will discuss the last year paper also. Okay. So, guys, this is very simple paper. It is only of the 40 marks, creating an inclusive school, right? There are two units. The number one unit, and this is a unit two, right? And if you see the syllabus, so in the syllabus, only 8 or 9 questions are there, right? Which I have written here, right? One question is framing from the syllabus, discuss the concept and importance of inclusive education, right? Because it is only 2 units, and out of the 2 units, only 8 or 9 questions are coming, right? So it is, representing the syllabus. Second is define the concept of inclusive education, discuss barriers, major problems of inclusive education, also define few measures for implementing inclusive education, 16 marks. Okay. So any questions can come. Okay. 2 questions, long questions would come. Okay. Third is explain different models of inclusive education. What are the barriers responsible for successful implementation of these models? Fourth is define the concept of hearing impairment. Discuss the special education program required for such kind of a children with suitable example. Always comes these questions. Okay. Sometimes here it comes visual impairment, right? Fifth questions we will discuss cooperative learning as a teaching strategy for inclusive setting, right? Sixth question we'll discuss the strategy for creating conducive environment in inclusive school. Always comes. Okay. And the seventh is role of teacher, or sometime comes role of the school in creating and sustaining inclusive practice. Okay, guys. So these questions we are going to discuss. You can see the last year paper. Okay. Out of this, many questions has come. This is the last year paper. Okay, ये देखो models आ गए हैं. The same question has come. Hearing impairment question has come. Cooperative learning question has come. और ये it is a simple one. What is the detailed note on the role of a general class teacher and resource teacher in inclusive education? Okay. So guys, ये first discuss the concept and importance of inclusive education and barriers and few measures, 3 things, and fourth is models. Okay, these 4 things we have already discussed in the last PPT. You can see that PPT, right? You can see that under this we have already thoroughly discussed inclusive education, need of inclusive education, right? Then features and importance of inclusive education. This PPT I have discussed with you, thoroughly discussed with you, right? Barriers we have discussed with you, all of the barriers, and measures for implementing inclusive education or strategy for implementing inclusive education. This also discussed. And after this, I have thoroughly discussed with you all the models, right? Model of inclusion, push-in model, full inclusion model, partial inclusion, Wang adaptive learning model, and team teaching model, right? So now you can see that these 3 questions we have already discussed in the last lecture. Discuss and concept and importance of inclusive education. Second question we have discussed barriers and defined few measures for implementing inclusive education. Okay. And third questions also we have already discussed, right, guys? Models. Okay, models of inclusive education. So I am directly starting from fourth questions, right? Fourth question we will discuss today, fifth, sixth, and seventh, right? Discuss the concept of hearing impairment, this one, and discuss the special educational programs required for such kind of a children with suitable example. 6 plus 10, right? 16 marks का total है. So ये first questions है, already notes I have already shared with you. Okay. You can learn from the notes. Okay. My work is to, understand you. Okay. what are the contents and what is the meaning of the topic. Now, you have to learn because you have to perform the examinations, right? So these are already, three questions. I have already given you the notes, right? Now, I'm directly starting from the fourth question. Okay. So basically, I'm teaching you, I'm discussing you with your notes. So basically, there should be a no problem of, okay, from the PPT and others. Even from the notes also, I am discussing with you so that after my lecture, you know, after one hour or 2 hour, you can also learn these questions. Okay. So my motive was that, right? So that's why I'm directly discussing from the notes, directly from questions, right? So the question always comes, define the concept of a hearing impairment, discuss the special education programs required for such kind of a children with suitable example. Okay. So first we have to define hearing impairment. Okay. As the question demanding hearing impairment, then the problems, then in detail, we have to define about the what are the educational programs needed for the inclusive education or needed for the special students with suitable example. Okay, first we discuss the hearing impairment. What is the meaning of a hearing impairment? Hearing impairment is the inability of an individual to hear sounds adequately, right? Loss. Loss, hearing loss, basically. Impairment means loss, hear loss, right? Hearing impairment means it is the inability of an individual to hear sounds adequately. This may due to the improper development, damage, or disease to any part of the hearing mechanism. Hearing is a prerequisite for the development of normal speech and language. This is the most important, guys, right? Please focus on it. A child learn to speak by hearing the speech of others in the family and surrounding, right? This is hearing impairment. Okay, detail may you have to learn in details. Okay, because long questions you have to write over there. So my purpose is to understand the every point. Okay. Up now, what are the cause of the hearing impairment? Hearing impairment can be caused by genetic factors, right? Infections during pregnancy. This, okay? Toxins consumed by the mother during pregnancy or other conditions occurring at the time of a birth or shortly thereafter. Okay. And hearing impairment can be caused by premature birth and can also be caused by childhood infections, head trauma after birth. Okay. So these are the main caused of hearing impairment, right? Now, next, hearing impairment and deafness. Hearing impairment and deafness are not necessarily the same thing. Hearing loss greater than 90 decibel is generally categorized as deafness. But any impediment to hearing, whether temporary, permanent, or fluctuating, impacts not only a child's experience in the classroom, but also their social and emotional development, literacy, skill, and speech and language ability. This is the most important line, guys. Most important. Okay. I'm going to repeat. Hearing impairment and deafness are not necessarily the same thing. Hearing loss greater than 90 decibel is generally categorized as the deafness. But यहाँ से देखो, this is the most important for you because you are teaching to the student and sometimes you are unaware student having the hearing impairment. Okay, and you are teaching to a person, you are teaching to a student who is, you know, उसका डायग्नोज भी नहीं हो रहा, राइट? उसको you are teaching having the hearing impairment. Okay, and you are teaching. Are you getting my point? So this is also the duty of the teacher to recognize the student. It does not mean, what do you understand by teaching? If there are 30 students in the class, okay, your responsibility does not finish. You just come into the class and putting the lecture into the mind of the student, and you think that okay, your duty has finished. Guys, you have to see that. Okay, you should be aware of your 30 students. Okay, might be you are teaching to our students having the hearing impairment, and whole of the year you are teaching to the student. Are you getting my point? So hearing impairment and deafness are not necessarily the same thing. Hearing loss greater than 90 decibel is generally categorized as deafness. But ab sunna iske baad, this is the most important. But any impediment to hearing, whether temporary, permanent, or fluctuating, impacts not only a child experience in the classroom, but also their social, emotional development, literacy skills, and speech and language ability. Means only, well, what I want to say that, why I'm emphasizing that, due to your problem, due to, inability of the teacher, right? Student having problem of social and emotional development. Okay, he is not developing the skills, he is not developing the speech, he is not developing the language ability because of your inability, because you couldn't identify the student having the hearing loss, having the visual impairment, hearing impairment. Okay, so this is why this is the important, this inclusive education topic has come into the B.Ed course, because you are going to become a teacher. All right, so there are three main types of a hearing impairment. You should be aware of that. Three types of a hearing impairment. One is called, I zoom out little bit. One is called sensorineural deafness. This is called the nerve deafness. Okay, basically it is a permanent hearing loss in the inner ear, is usually caused by the uh, this word is okay, how you have to pronounce, not working effectively. Okia isko bolte hain shayad na, right? Next is auditory neuropathy spectrum disorder. This is the problem occurred more deeply within the ear, where sounds are received normally by this, then become disrupted as that travel to the brain. Third problem is conductive deafness. This is a usually temporary, sometimes permanent. Okay, sound cannot pass effectively through the outer and middle ear to the inner ear, caused by blockage such as wax or fluid. The latter is known as glue ear, can last for up to 3 months and is very commonly in preschool children. Right? Hence, this is the most important, last, paragraph. Hence, because now whatever I have shaded, whatever I have read it now, these are the most important lines, right? Hearing, here, and you have to write it under this question, right? Hearing, hence, hearing impairment as disability category is similar to the category of a deafness, but it is not the same. The officially definition of a hearing impairment by the Individual with Disability Education Act is, this is an impairment in hearing, whether permanent or fluctuating, that adversely affect a child's educational performance, but is not included under the definition of a deafness. Okay. So, matlab, if the problem student having the hearing impairment, okay, hearing loss, hard to hear, okay, there is a, you have know about the, categories. Okay, guys, you being teacher, you can't say that he is having the problem. Are he is not deafness. Okay, you deaf nahi hai, he is not deaf. Okay, वो problem है. You can solve the problem, but you are not taking seriously to solve that problem. You are labeling that he is not intelligent, he is very weak. Okay, and due to you only, students, cannot develop the all the skills which we have discussed in the last page, right? So thus, ये देखिए, thus knowing the definition of a deafness is necessary to understand what sort of a disability are considered hearing impairment. A hearing loss above 90 decibel is generally considered deafness, which means that a hearing loss below 90 decibel is classified as a hearing impairment. If any of the student is in your class having the hearing impairment, then this is your duty to solve that particular problem. Okay. While hearing impairment are often identified in babies, they may not develop or make themselves known for several years. This means that it is important to keep an eye out for the sign of a hearing impairment in the classroom, particularly in young children. As at some point in your career, you could find that you are teaching a child with an undiagnosed hearing impairment. Are you getting my point? Matlab, you are teaching to a child who is an undiagnosed hearing impairment, and whole of the year you are teaching, next class, next teacher is teaching, okay, and student is not developing, and you say that this is the problem of student. Guys, student is never ever weak in this planet, right? I think you have come to know from this question also, right? You know how you have to recognize these problems. Here are some of the common signs of hearing impairment then that you can look for in young children while teaching, okay, as it is also for the parents also, right? For example, your child is not responding when their name is called. For example, problem with the concentration, excessive tiredness and frustration with work that starts to affect their behavior, watching your lips intently as you speak, speaking too loudly or too quietly. Malab, these are the signs. Okay, being teacher, you can recognize that. Being father, being mother. Okay, you have to recognize your baby, your young children. Okay. Watching others do something before attempting it themselves, becoming increasingly withdrawn from others in the classroom, delayed speech and communication development, mishearing or mispronouncing words, not being able to hear what is happening if there is any background noise, making minimal contribution to the classroom discussion. Anna, you have seen that student is not contributing in the discussion. Are dekho, having the problem. You should be aware of that. Difficulty with reading and linking to the speech. If you recognize the student to fall under the send code of a practice, right? तो ये सारी चीजें आपको डिफाइन करनी है. उसके बाद in detail you have to talk about suggestions, educational programs required in inclusive setting, right? Required for disabled or required in inclusive setting. यही था ना हमारा क्वेश्चन, right? ये देखो. Now, special education programs required for such kind of a children with suitable example. यही था ना हमारा questions. What do you understand by hearing impairment? And define the educational programs required for a such kind of a children with suitable example. Okay. So I'm also repeating that, guys. Sometimes the same question would come, but only above is written hearing impairment. Sometimes it comes visually impairment. Sometimes it's come mentally retardations. Okay, one word is also in the syllabus, right? Baki rest is the same. Okay, because the same educational programs required for the inclusive settings. Okay, कौन-कौन से programs हैं? It is vital that children with hearing impairment are given the right support from as early as stage as possible. ये देखो बहुत जरूरी हो जाता है, right? If the that's why it is called that teaching is not everybody's cup of tea. Teaching does not mean that what is your syllabus and find from the syllabus and you come into the class and putting into the mind of the student. This is not a teaching. You have to take care of every individual, every child. This is the teaching. What is teaching? To know the child first. Content matter तो it comes very later on. And in fact, you say that you are very good in the content. Okay. We need the teacher who is a creative. Okay, you say that ki I have a very good content knowledge, but how you have to deliver the content knowledge, this is the main important. This is called the teaching, right? So, and this is also your duty to know the child. You should know each and everything of the child, right? अब ये देखो, if you are not taking care of the child, okay, if you take care of the child, the problem will be solved at a very first year. If you are not taking care of the child, having the visually impairment, hearing impairment, of now, one after the other, he is passing the classes and, he is not developing, right? And later on, this problem becomes severe. But in reality, teachers are the responsible, parents are the responsible for such kind of problems. Okay. So it is vital that the children with hearing impairment are given the right support from as early as stage as possible. If you have a child with a hearing impairment in your class, teaching in a way that fully supports them may seem a daunting prospect, but there is a plenty of a support that many ideas available. Okay. Classroom equipments. Okay. Because we are talking about the suggestions, we are talking about the educational programs required for the inclusive setting. So there should be a classroom equipment. Sana, we have discussed that, but there should be equipment, hearing equipments, right? Eyes ke equipments you should have. Okay, designating a note taker, सीटिंग चेंजेस, बच्चों की सीट्स को चेंज करो, देखो उनको अगर प्रॉब्लम आ रही है दूर बैठ के तो, राइट? यूज एन एफएम सिस्टम. एफएम क्या होता है? पीपल विद द हियरिंग इम्पेयरमेंट. ये देखो, इसको पढ़ लेते हैं हम थोड़ा सा. पीपल विद द हियरिंग इम्पेयरमेंट commonly use the frequency FM system. This device can help children with hearing challenges as it eradicates the concern of the sound volume and clarity. Right? Phase students, dedicated staff, right? For schools that have the budget to employ one communication support worker or learning support assistant can provide hugely valuable help. अच्छे schools होते हैं उनमें ना, they hire, teaching. Make sure that you don't run away from the class while talking and ensuring that a child has understood every task or instructions, right? Meet with the parents regularly, right? That's why na parents teacher meeting. Why the parent teacher meeting happens? This is the reason, guys. Parents teacher meeting happens because you discuss with the parents. Okay, the problem is coming. Minimizing background noises, integrative visual aids in teaching. Okay, make maximum use of available technologies. So these are all the points. Create awareness, as well as teacher can also support children with a hearing impairment. Okay, so these are all the points you have to define as an educational program for inclusive settings. Okay, these are all the points you have to take care in your class also. Okay. Okay, next questions we discuss. Describe cooperative learning as an teaching strategy for inclusive setting. Cooperative learning we have already done in the first year also, right? But here we have to talk about cooperative learning as a strategy for inclusive setting. Guys, in this year you have to give 3 or 4 papers, right? If in detail, if you see the syllabus, so around 30-40% syllabus you have already done in the first year. Okay, so describe the cooperative learning as a teaching strategy for inclusive setting. Right? Means you have to define the cooperative learning or as a teaching strategy, right? So there are several benefits of the cooperative learning structure for student with disability. Student with disabilities are more engaged in classroom activities where cooperative learning structure are in place compared to more traditional classroom intervention. Specifically, in inclusive classes that use cooperative learning, student articulate their thoughts more freely, receive confirming and constructive feedback, engage in questioning technique, receive additional practices on skills, and have increased opportunity to respond. अब आप मुझे ये बताओ, if you don't have the problem of a cooperative learning, right? So this is only due to your problem. Student cannot participate, or student couldn't develop these all the things. Now guys, in today, if the student does not ask any of the question, so this is due to the teacher. If the student is not speaking well, this is also by the teacher. If the student is not intelligent, if the child is not intelligent, so this is also, teacher is responsible, right? And teachers can be teachers who are teaching in the schools. Teachers can be parents. Teachers can be the, elder brothers and sisters. Okay, what we are basically, we are the personality of those 4 or 5 persons whose personality affected on us. हम या तो कॉपी अपने पेरेंट्स की हैं, अपने सराउंडिंग्स की हैं, या अपने टीचर्स की कॉपी हैं. तो जैसे हमारे पेरेंट्स होंगे, जैसे टीचर्स होंगे, जैसे एल्डर्स होंगे, वैसे ही हम आज बन गए हैं. तो डू नॉट ब्लेम टू द स्टूडेंट, राइट? So being teachers, we have to recognize this thing and we have to solve it, right? Okay. कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग इज एन एजुकेशनल अप्रोच. कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग एक मेथड है. अप्रोच का मतलब होता है मेथड, right? Cooperative learning is an educational approach which aims to organize classroom activities into academic and social learning experience. Okay, do not make the class, very boring. Come into the class and start lecture to the students. Do not make the class boring. Do not make the class stereotype. Okay, define lot of activities: team teaching, cooperative learning. Okay, then discussion method also, dialogue method also. Okay, so there are various activities. Class mein there should be a, you should have bouquet of teaching methods. You should have bouquet of strategies. Okay, do not make the class bore. Okay, this is your responsibility. You should be aware of these all the things. Okay, then yaad rakhna, always remember, the outcome of the student only depends on the teacher. So guys, now we discuss benefits of a cooperative learning as a teaching strategy for inclusive setting. ठीक है, बेसिकली हमारा क्वेश्चन भी यही था. ओके, कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग एज ए टीचिंग स्ट्रेटेजी फॉर इंक्लूसिव सेटिंग्स. तो क्या क्या करना है? नंबर 1, इनहांस्ड एकेडमिक अचीवमेंट. इससे क्या होता है? व्हाट हैपेंस व्हेन यू अप्लाई द कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग इन द इंक्लूसिव सेटिंग, मींस for the general as well as for the disabled students. तो then what happens? क्या होता? What are the benefits? क्या benefits होंगे? Academic achievement उनकी enhance हो जाएगी बच्चों की. Okay, they will improve social skills. अब मुझे बताओ, I'm not saying, your answer is saying that. How you can say that? अब ये देखो सारा academic achievement, improved social skills, right? These all the enhancing critical skill and problem solving skill. How the student is developing? Tell me how student is developing due to the cooperative learning. तो अब मुझे ये बताओ, who is responsible? Teacher is responsible ना, because teacher don't know about the cooperative learning. Teacher don't know about the peer tutoring. Teacher do not know about the brainstorming. Teacher do not know about the various methods of teaching. Teacher do not know about the teaching strategies. Okay, so then what is happening? अब उसकी academic achievement नहीं improve हो रही है. Student is not improving academic achievement. Student is not improving social skills. Student is not improving critical thinking and problem solving skills, right? So that's why, guys, I always say that student child is never ever weak in this planet. Okay. For example, now this is your second year. In a second year, you have to present a lecture over there at the time of your pedagogy subject. And you come into the class and start directly naming the topic. So basically, you didn't give the time to the student to think. Okay. So what is happening? Students' critical thinking skills, reasoning power of the student is killed due to you, because you have, make the student adaptive. You just come into the class and naming the topic, student, today we will teach this subject. Okay, so always you should ask some of the questions from the students. There should be a brainstorming, there should be a cooperative learning, discussions, right? So all these skills you should have, only then you can become a good teacher. right? So what are the benefits of a cooperative learning as a teaching strategy for inclusive setting? तभी ये questions always repeat होता है, right? तो क्या होगा? What will happen? Student will enhance academic achievement, they will improve social skills, increased motivation, they will also enhance critical thinking and problem solving skill, fostering teamwork and communication, benefits of diverse learning style and abilities, enhancing communication skills, cultivations of a leadership skill, development of a conflict resolution skill, increased retention of information, increased engagement in learning, preparation of a real world collaboration, long term impact on students academic and personal development, increased employee work engagement, boosted self esteem and confidence, right? ये देखो कितना जरूरी है ये वर्ड सेल्फ एस्टीम. Okay, how you have to boost the self esteem of the student, right? Personalized learning experience, increased empathy and understanding, strengthened work ethics, promotion of a lifelong learning skills. तो ये सारे के सारे all the points guys you have to define and you have to in detail you have to define over there. So these are the points of benefits of cooperative learning, right? ये देखो ये क्वेश्चन था हमारा, describe cooperative learning as a teaching strategy for inclusive settings. Okay, fifth था ये क्वेश्चन हमारा. Now the sixth question is describe the strategies for creating conducive environment in inclusive school. ये भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, ये ऑलवेज आता होता है क्वेश्चंस, ठीक है? डिस्क्राइब द स्ट्रेटेजीज फॉर क्रिएटिंग कंड्यूसिव एनवायरनमेंट इन इंक्लूसिव स्कूल, ये यूनिट 2 के क्वेश्चंस है, राइट? स्ट्रेटेजीज फॉर क्रिएटिंग, ये देखो इसको पढ़ो बस, स्ट्रेटेजीज फॉर क्रिएटिंग कंड्यूसिव एनवायरनमेंट इन इंक्लूसिव स्कूल्स, right? Means you have to create a such kind of an environment. इसका मीनिंग क्या है? You have to create a such kind of an environment where the general students and disabled students, they can get the benefit, right? So these strategies you should know that, right? Recently we have seen number of institutions of a higher education begin taking steps to diversify their school environment. According to the Century Foundation, inclusive classroom setting lead to the beneficial academic outcomes and better interpersonal relations for students of all backgrounds, giving children the opportunity to interact with the people of a different races and socio-economic status reduces stereotypes and intolerance. The Century Foundation also references data showing integrated schooling closes the achievement gap and allow more equal access to facilities, resource and highly trained teachers. अब ये स्ट्रेटेजीज हैं, राइट? स्ट्रेटेजीज फॉर क्रिएटिंग कंड्यूसिव एनवायरनमेंट इन इंक्लूसिव स्कूल. तो गाइस, हाउ यू हैव टू प्रोवाइड ए conducive environment in inclusive schools, in inclusive settings? You have to provide the academic support, get to know to your student and let them get to know you. अब ये देखो, यही चीज मैं आपको ना again and again I'm repeating, I'm emphasizing that content matter comes later on. Do not boast about your knowledge. Do not boast about your, you think you lot of content knowledge. Okay. The main purpose of teacher is to understand the student, to know the student, right? How to deliver the content into the mind of the student, right? अब second देखो कितना अच्छा point है. Get to know your student and let them get to know you. Means establishing a bond. You have to establish a bond with the student. मुश्किल कंटेंट भी है ना, स्टूडेंट अपने आप लर्न कर लेगा. Okay, do not think that student cannot learn. Student can learn. Do you know the ability of the student, the knowledge of the student? When the baby born, he born with all the knowledge, everything he has. You do not have to boast. Due to you, student have got a very good marks. I'm repeating, listen my sentence. You do not have to boast. Due to you, student has got a more marks. Student has got the marks because of his intelligence, right? The work of you Now the your work is to, you have to become the facilitator, right? You have to give the direction to the student, right? You have to, give the true path to the student. Okay. Create self pace for the student to share. Create a classroom that encourages interaction. Create a respectful school community. Create a space for discussion. Develop a skill. ये देखो, space for discussion मतलब do not teach in the class like a dictator. Okay, right? So space for discussion. There should be a democracy in the class. Develop a scaffolded approach to learning. Provide support that benefits all children in your class. Create a calm, purposeful learning environment. This kind of environment you have to create. Right? Ask the questions from the students. Do the help for or to the student. Okay. Do more work for the student. Okay. Don't you think that why the student will do by themselves? Okay. Help the students from any form. Right? Use pre-assessment to inform your planning. Let the children choose how to show what they have learned. Do not compare the progress of a one child to the another. Right? Yes, even in the family also, you have a son and daughter, you cannot compare with the son with the daughter. You have the two sons, you cannot compare a one son with the another son. Okay, do not compare the student. Every student comes with a unique capability, right? Learning is not a competition, is a never-ending process of inner growth and development, right? It's a journey, guys. It is a journey, right? एंड जो लास्ट वाला क्वेश्चन है ये भी ऑलमोस्ट है, इसके पॉइंट्स वही हैं, पढ़ो क्वेश्चंस को. रोल ऑफ टीचर इन क्रिएटिंग एंड सस्टेनिंग इंक्लूसिव प्रैक्टिस, राइट? तो ये भी सारे पॉइंट वही आ गए. डेवलपिंग पॉजिटिव एटीट्यूड, लिटिल बिट डिफरेंट. मॉडिफिकेशंस ऑफ करिकुलम, कम्युनिकेशंस, कॉन्टिन्यूस प्रोफेशनल डेवलपमेंट, कोलैबोरेटिव टीचिंग, कोऑपरेटिव टीचिंग, कोऑर्डिनेट प्रोविजन फॉर सपोर्ट सर्विस, लाइजनिंग विद डिफरेंट एजेंसीज एंड रोल ऑफ ए टीचर इन इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन, वही वाले सारे पॉइंट्स आ गए. राइट? सो गाइज ये हमारे टुडे वी हैव डिस्कस ऑल आवर 7 क्वेश्चंस, राइट? ये देखिए, राइट? तो ये 4 हो गए थे हमारे. 5th हमने कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग भी डिस्कस, स्ट्रेटजीज एंड रोल ऑफ ए टीचर. नाउ यू कैन योर सिलेबस आल्सो. तो होल ऑफ दिस पेपर वी हैव फिनिश्ड. पेपर 10 क्रिएटिव एंड इंक्लूसिव स्कूल. दिस इज द सिलेबस, राइट? So guys, thank you so much for this class. Thank you so much once again. Thank you. So okay guys, आपका जो 10th टॉपिक है, it has already finished, right? Paper 10. Thanks to all of you.